You might be the sort of person that says, no one in my town has the same interest as me. No one understands me. I'm not cool enough to make any friends. I'm too busy to make any friends. I'm too shy to put myself out there. I'm not interested in the same things as most people. I'm always moving, so I can never make lasting friendships. These were all things that I told myself as a teenager when I was working really hard to achieve my goal of going to medical school. Sometimes it feels like when you're someone who doesn't have friends, it's not because of your lack of social skills, it's just that you're not in the right environment. Maybe you dip in and out of different friendship groups in the meantime, but you never feel like you truly belong anywhere. You feel disconnected from the people around you, and you could be in a room full of people but still feel very alone. It seems like the reason you don't have the tight-knit friendship groups and the close bonds that everyone else has is because you're in the wrong place, surrounded by the wrong people. But trust me when I say there's more to this than meets the eye. Hey, if you're new, I'm Christina and I make videos for people who are feeling lonely. If you're a people pleaser, overachiever, over anything, you're in the right place. Feeling disconnected from the people around you is more than just like, oh, I wish I could make friends. I feel a little bit lonely right now. When you're in school or at university or you're working, you've got a job, when you feel like you're surrounded by people, but no one actually gets you, it feels like there is just genuinely something missing inside of you. Like everything else could be going perfectly in your life. Like you could be smashing it in terms of the work that you're doing or getting the grades that you want or making loads of money or like getting achievement after achievement. But if you feel like you don't connect with anyone, it's just so unfulfilling. It gives you such an empty feeling inside. In this video, I wanted to cover some reasons that you might not have thought of as to why maybe you don't have friends or why you feel disconnected from people, why you feel left out, why you feel like you have so much going for you and you have all the qualities that would make an amazing friend, but you still feel like you can't make friends. I struggled with this a lot when I was younger. When I had the vision of going to medical school, none of my other friends kind of had the same vision. And so it felt like I was working super hard and I probably looked like a crazy person at 14, 15, 16. Like at such a young age, I was taking my future and my goal of going to university, I took it so seriously that I probably like alienated myself in a way. Starting off with, you place too much emphasis on being similar to other people. When I was younger, I used to think, I'll finally make the friends that I want to make when I realized that, we're all really hardworking, we all go to the gym, we all read these sorts of books, we're all into self-development, we all want to work on ourselves. Like when we all have the same interest, then I'll meet my people. Then I know it's finally happened. This isn't the case. This is a bit of a trap that a lot of people fall into. When you are you actually don't really care much about having a friendship, you care more about having a fantasy. Some of your bestest friends that you get on like an absolute insane amount, you guys click so well, you might have not a lot in common. Like the other day, I started my new job, and to kind of like welcome everyone and get everyone to like get to know each other, we had a welcome dinner at this Indian restaurant. I didn't know anyone. I walked in on my own. I sat down at this table with 3 other people, and like one girl, me and her got along so well. We had a lot in common, but in terms of interest, we were polar opposite. Like I told her like, oh, I make videos, I do YouTube. And then she was like, oh yeah, no, she doesn't really do that. Her interest is more documentaries and conspiracy theories, and like she's on Twitter a lot, and like she's really like, I don't know, active in like political spaces. And I was like, that's really cool, that's really interesting. Like we have a lot of differences and our interests aren't the same. But I can't describe it, but like in the conversation, we were very similar people. It's almost like we had the same personality, but our hobbies and interests were different. When you have a tick box mindset and you think that like, I just need to find people who are into the gym, into self-improvement, into this, when you do meet each other, because this has happened to me, I had a really toxic friendship where actually we were very, very similar. We were both very, very hardworking, both had like such an ambition to like achieve, and this person was the same. When I had that tick box mindset and I met this person, it felt like there was a bit of a spark at the start, like, oh my gosh, finally, like I've met someone who's the same as me, and it was like mutual. They also felt the same and I felt the same. Like, wow, like finally we've met each other. But then the moment that differences started to arise and I realized like, actually this person's like very, very assertive and like they like to have their way. It's definitely their way or the highway. When differences started to arise, it felt like that spark was fading. And actually at the time I was thinking like, I don't know where we went wrong. Like we were really similar, but I'm struggling to like deal with this person because it feels like I'm being dragged along with the friendship. And I feel like I can't speak up when they're talking badly about other people, or like if this person wants to do something that I don't really agree with, I just feel like I have to do it. When differences started to come up, it felt like that spark was fading, but actually it was just me seeing the real version of them. Like people aren't pure positive or pure negative. Like you have a mix of both. Sometimes when you do have that such a hard thing to say. Sometimes when you do have that tick box mindset, You might actually start to meet people and only focus on their positives. And then later on down the line, you're going to be surprised by the fact that they actually have negative traits as well. I have a lot of friends now where I actually don't have a lot in common with them. Like, we have a lot in common in terms of like the way that we talk to each other, the banter we have, the values we have, the way that we navigate and talk about the world and our opinions on things. I guess we have similar opinions, but we don't have similar interests. Like when I think about some of my closest friends, like my mum, for example, I know she's my mum, so it doesn't really count because she's family, but we could not be more opposite when it comes to our interests. She's obsessed with like CSI, true crime, murder mysteries, that sort of stuff. Literally, like it stops me from sleeping. Like I can't watch a documentary with her. She's obsessed with like K-dramas and like Korean shows. She's literally learning Korean. I've never watched a K-drama in my life. My old roommate that I used to live with in university, we got along so well and we had like such good banter. But again, we had different interests. She was really like into baking. She was into the gym. I cannot bake to save my life. She would go to the gym. I haven't been to the gym in like 7 years. So a lot of my friends have really different interests to me. Do not have a tick box approach when it comes to making new friends, because trust me, that's not really how you make the friends. That's more you trying to fulfill a fantasy. I think maybe you've come to that fantasy because I did the same. You probably have just been online a little bit too much. You've been on social media and seen how many other people on Instagram are like going out on like the girls' trips and doing like the cocktails, and they're going for meals all the time, they're going to fancy bars. Like you see all these pictures and you build your own story as to what that means and how fulfilling that must feel as a friendship. So you build this fantasy around like, okay, well, my ideal friendship, we're going to do this and we're going to go here and we'll take pictures in this way. And it's like, trust me, as someone who's done that before, that is more a fantasy than like a real friendship. Anything that you're basing social media off of is like, this is where your inspiration is coming from, or like you've seen it on Instagram, you've seen a reel on it, you've seen a TikTok on it. Take it with a huge pinch of salt, because so many friendships you'll see online, there is so much more than what meets the eye. The next chapter is on self-esteem. I think there's a camp of people who have spent a really long time feeling lonely and feeling alone and feeling like I don't have any friends, no one likes me, I try my best but it never works out. I think a lot of the reasons underlying that, you might place it down to your location or how old you are, or the fact that you're an old soul. For a lot of people though, I actually feel like it's because deep down you feel like you don't deserve friends. Whether it's you feel like you only deserve friends if you're working for it and like you're giving to them and you're giving them your time and effort. You're working on a project that they need help with, and then you'll feel like they'll like you back. Some people have the belief that friendships do have to be transactional. You might not see it in that way, but deep down you feel like to be this person's friend, okay, what do I have to give? What do I have to do? You're not indebted to that person. You don't owe that person. You don't have to like repay that person with your time and effort. If that person, say, I don't know, you guys are planning to meet up and you're like 20 minutes late because of the traffic or whatever. I feel like these sorts of people would be so apologetic and literally like be panicking and like worried, like, are they still gonna like me? Like, oh my God, I'm late. Like, what are they gonna say? Like, it's almost like you feel like you have to earn their time. Like, you feel like you have to earn their friendship. You're not deserving of it. A lot of these people, because this was me like a few years ago, a lot of these people won't believe that like they have value. In a way, like they feel like the only time that they do have value and that they are important people, they are good people, they are special people, is when they like do something or like achieve something. Like just existing isn't enough. They're not deserving of friends just by existing and being themselves. They're not like valuable, good people, generous people, kind people just by existing. They feel like they have to prove it and do a lot, proving it in their actions by giving everyone else compliments and like directing attention towards everyone else, never ever being in the spotlight, proving it by being really conscientious, going above and beyond in every single department of their lives. These people will often come across as like very, very kind, like generous people that are always there for everyone else, but deep down they'll feel like a huge sense of like a low self-esteem and a huge like feeling of lack and feeling like they're not good enough. When I had this mindset, I didn't realize I was operating in this way. Like I was thinking of it like I want to be the friend that I would want to have, and that's a good intention to have. I still have that mindset now. I want to be the friend that I'd like to have, but now I just do not believe or even think that I need to like prove myself to anyone. I don't need to earn your friendship, and you don't need to earn mine. There is no transaction. There is no give this and I'll take that. That is not how a good or healthy friendship works. And you might be thinking, Christina, well, does that mean like you'd never make an effort for your friends? You don't try hard for your friends? No. I definitely do, and I definitely do try hard for my friends. I show up for my friends always, but it's not like a feeling of obligation, like I have to. It's more like I actually want to. Like I want to go to your event, or I want to help you set off for your birthday party like right before it happens. Like I want to do all these things. I don't feel like I have to do all these things. Me feeling like I want to do it, I know that, say, I can do it or I can't because I'm busy, the friendship will still be there. It's not like a shaky friendship where I feel like I have to say yes, because if I don't say yes, and if I say no, I can't help you set up the balloons before your birthday party because I'm busy, then like, will she still like me? That's the problem. And I think for me, how I overcame that is you have to just realize, you might not know, you might not understand, maybe no one's told you, but like, people will like you as you are. You don't have to work for friends. You don't have to work for relationships. You don't have to work to connect with people. People will like you just as you are, just as you're doing nothing. I say nothing. When I say like doing nothing, you don't have to work, I mean like, you can just be yourself. You just being normal, being boring, whatever you call yourself, you just being you is more than enough for the right people. People will like you for that. People will like you if you say no, like, you can't come to my birthday party, you're busy. Oh, cool, but we're still good friends. I'm gonna win this award. Like, can you come? I'd love for you to be there. Oh no, you're busy. Oh, that's totally cool. Next one, don't worry. Like, you can say no and people will still like you. And I think sometimes when you're that low self-esteem person, you don't even realize or comprehend that there will be people that will like you when you aren't working for their time and energy. And something else that what I did when I was this person, when you've got low self-esteem, is sometimes you will settle in friendships maybe because you feel like this is all that you can get. Like, if I have to put up with this girl that barely speaks to me, doesn't reply to my messages, like when I ask her for the help that I give her, she never gives it back to me, and like I feel like I'm the one investing so much and she never gives me anything back. Sometimes you just will put up with that because you feel like I don't deserve any better, like no one else will like me, this is the best that I can get. I spoke about this a little bit more in my toxic friendships video, but another thing that this person does as well is that you'll preempt rejection. Like, maybe you meet a cool person that, you know, you've gotten to know, like you guys were talking in the queue or something and it seems like you guys get along. You'll like cut the conversation short even before it starts to bloom or blossom into anything, because you're just like, you're worried that the person will reject you. Or maybe it's like you've met someone on Instagram, like you guys were talking and DMing each other, and again, like things are going well, like you get along, but before it can even bloom into something, you just panic at the fact that it's going well. And if it's going well, that means, oh, they're going to realize like how boring I am and how weird I am. Like, let me just end it before that they end it, because then that means at least I'm in control and I've ended it. Whether it's on Instagram, whether it's in real life, whether it's at work, whether it's like literally anywhere, at a party, in the queue. Sometimes when things are going well and things are actually showing signs of being promising, that stresses you out so much that you just like end it before it can even become anything. Because again, you don't feel like you're deserving of it. Like you actually just feel like you don't deserve friends that care about you and like you just as you are, not friends that only like you when you're working for them or putting in time and effort and energy into them. Another thing that might have you feeling disconnected from people is your expectations. This is a huge one given social media, where I actually think chances are I don't know what your situation is, but say you do actually have a couple of friends, like you do actually have a couple of people that you click with, you meet up from time to time, you're both busy with, you know, school, work, hobby, like you're busy with things and you don't always meet up every single week or even every single month. Maybe like one of those friends where you see them occasionally, and whenever you do meet up, it's like you pick up right where you left off and it's like you never spent time apart. I have a bunch of friends like that, and I say a bunch, I feel like most of my friendships are like that now, because I've started a new job, I'm in a new town, I'm in a new city with like new people, and I feel like I am starting again in a way. So if you're looking on social media too much and you see how often other people are seeing their friends and how often they're going out and what they're doing for their birthday and what their friends got them for their birthdays, you're going to think that what you have isn't good. But trust me, what you have could genuinely be amazing. The reason I say that is because some of the friendships that I've been involved with or I've seen, where people do go to parties really often and there's always something happening, there's always some sort of social activity with like the friendship group or that set of people that you hang out with, that might not actually be what you want. Especially if you're an introvert. Like, you'd be surprised, as an introvert, I feel like sometimes the best sort of friendship dynamic that you can have is one where you have a bit of a long distance friendship. Like, sometimes I think it's good that I don't, like, my university friends I was really close to, we've all spread out and moved to different places. Sometimes I think it's weirdly good that that's the case now, because now I feel like when I do see them at like birthdays or like we meet up for Christmas, I feel like I'm going to come to them with a lot more to say, and like more's happened. It's going to feel like a bit more of a life update. I honestly think with expectations, people use social media and scroll through Instagram and think that everything on Instagram is like twice as good as what it is in their life. Like the girls that you see that are day drinking on a Saturday, or the people that have just gone on like an escape room, or the people that have gone on like a group holiday, you think everything is like twice as good and like twice as better as what you have in your life. I'm not even exaggerating when I say sometimes when you're scrolling, like assume things are twice as worse. And I don't mean that in a cynical way. I just mean it like bring it back down to reality. Like you're thinking that things are way better than they are in your life. But if you have a couple of people that you see like consistently every few months, even every few weeks, that you genuinely care about, you have things in common, you have more than what a lot of people have. You don't need a friendship dynamic that's the most common one where people are all in like a big bubble, a big group of people, and they hang out all the time and they always spend time together. You don't need the stereotypical friendship group to have a very fulfilling friendship. You can have one that's actually a bit different to the norm. Another reason why you might feel disconnected from other people is difficulty reading social cues. Sometimes it's really tough when you're like in a group, it's always in a group, I feel like, and you're talking to someone and like someone cracks a joke and you're the only one that doesn't laugh, or like someone says like a weird compliment to you. You can't tell, is that a compliment or an insult or just like a weird statement, and you're just kind of like staring at them blankly. Sometimes if you've grown up without many friends, I do feel like you become a bit like socially deprived, and I feel like for me, I felt like I was on the back foot sometimes in conversations and in social events where I was struggling to keep up with the conversation because I can't fully grasp like, is that a joke? Is that like a nice thing? Like, I actually just don't know. When you can't read social cues and you're like talking to a group of people, it can be quite tough to feel like you're connected to everyone else, or like it feel like you're involved in the group. When that tends to happen, I tend to just like go a bit quiet, because rather than embarrass myself and like say the wrong thing or laugh at the wrong time, like I'd actually just like not give myself any attention. I was reading a book about this a couple of weeks ago, all about autism, and I actually found that this is like an autistic trait. I guess some people with autism will have this, and then some people who don't have autism will also have difficulty reading social cues, but it's a very like characteristic autistic trait. And in the book, it was interesting. The author talked about the fact that sometimes autistic people might not even seem autistic. They might seem really extroverted and like charismatic and really chatty and talkative, because when you do struggle with social cues, you'll actually train yourself to like analyze and learn them over time. Like I actually don't struggle with social cues now. This was something that I had like way back in the day. But nowadays, I feel like like the author was talking about, sometimes people learn the hard way. They have to, over time, build a map inside their heads of like, okay, this is what a joke is, and this is what people do when they're happy. This is what people do when they're sad. This is what people do when they're excited. And like you learn it and track it in your mind. And then like over time, you then start to present really charismatic and normal. I say normal, more like neurotypical. You present really neurotypical and really like relaxed in social situations because you've learned all the social cues that you didn't understand before. And I feel like that's me in a way. Because I didn't have many friends growing up, I felt like I had to learn the hard way how to develop like social skills and conversational skills and how to read social cues. Like I didn't learn it, like this does not come naturally to me. Like I literally have had to learn this the hard way, which is why I make these videos, because I genuinely I want to offer hope to people that if you have ever felt like I'm so boring, like I literally am so dry in a conversation, I don't know how to make friends, I don't know how to talk to people, I don't know how to like navigate any sort of social setting, my videos, I genuinely want to offer hope, because I was that person, and I feel like I've learned over time how to bridge that gap. And you don't have to bridge that gap by, I used to think I'd have to like be a people pleaser and just say yes to everyone else and be the nicest person in the room. And now I'm like, that is not the case. You can actually bridge that gap and become a bit more social and become a bit more of yourself by actually being yourself. Another reason you might feel more disconnected, and this is a really big one, is your fear of rejection. Sometimes when you have a fear of being rejected socially from other guys, other girls, you might feel isolated when you're around people, but then you'll also create isolation for yourself. Like, because you know, if I go to that party where everyone's going to know each other, everyone's going to be in a group, everyone's going to kind of have their inside jokes, if I then go and I feel excluded, or I feel like I'm not welcomed into that little bubble around the punch and I'm trying to get a drink and I don't feel like I'm included with that, you're going to tell yourself, oh, I'm not going to go to any other party that I'm invited to. Like, I'm not going to do it again. So just because you had one moment of rejection, you then reject so many more. And you had like maybe a little 10-second moment of isolation, which I know is awful because I've been there. It's so like gut-wrenching when you feel excluded. But then that 10-second moment of isolation then becomes like 6 months of isolation because you just refuse to be rejected again. Do you know what? I'm listening to a podcast and it doesn't seem relevant, but this podcast is about two girls that just talk about dating all day, every day. One of them has had like the most ideal upbringing situation where like two of her parents have been together. They love each other, very, very secure, healthy parent relationship. And she now navigates dating from a very healthy point of view. And it's just so interesting to listen to this podcast and hear her talk about dating versus the other girl who kind of grew up with a single mum. Like the dynamic dynamic of having a really solid, healthy foundation, seeing two parents growing up, it massively, massively makes a difference when you're an adult. And so I think, going back to this point of like fear of rejection, a lot of us never learned growing up that you can be rejected but still have worth as a person. A lot of us saw like growing up that like if you are rejected, if you are excluded, if you're not invited, if you're not welcomed, then like that makes you less than. And we still have that belief now. We still have that belief that like I need to avoid rejection at all costs because rejection affects my value. If I'm rejected, if I'm excluded, if I ask the girl out and she rejects me, if I ask to sit with that group of girls and they reject me, like I am less than as a person. Versus when I think about this podcast and I think about that girl that has like a really healthy approach to relationships, she knows and understands like just because I'm rejected, it does not make any difference to my value. And I know I've made a lot of progress. I feel like I've made that progress with friendships, and I don't fear being rejected by people anymore. Like I can comfortably walk into a room on my own. But I think relationships is still where I'm still exploring that. I'm still like working on it. But a lot of us, going back to my main point, we see rejection and exclusion as like affecting our value. And it's almost like we have a bit of a scarcity mindset. Like we're clinging onto our value. Imagine if we could like physically hold it. We're clinging onto our value and holding it really tightly. And like we're so obsessed with like conserving it as much as possible that we don't even want to get close to anyone that could potentially like take away from it and exclude us or isolate us. We're so focused on what could go wrong that we never even allow the things that could go right. If you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy my "You don't need friends, you need connection" video, where I was talking about the fact that, as it says on the tin, you don't actually need friends. It's more connection that you're looking for. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.